Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Celebrity Natal Charts. Today, we are going to be looking at the chart of LeBron James. And I just have to say, I'm being pulled in by my own clickbait because I've been excited like Christmas to do this chart for whatever reason. I don't know why. I'm not a big sports fan, but I've been very excited to look at what his chart has to say. LeBron James, Akron, Ohio, United States, December 30th, 1984, 4:04 p.m. Birth time accuracy excellent, it says. Uh, LeBron Ramon James, born December 30th, 1984, is an American professional basketball player for the Miami Heat of the National Basketball Association, NBA, standing at 6'8", and weighing 250 pounds. He started at the small forward and power forward positions. He has been featured in books, documentaries, and television commercials, and has hosted the ESPY Awards and Saturday Night Live. Maybe that's why I'm a big SNL fan. So 1984, I'm pretty sure, is Year of the Rat, which that might be the first time that I accurately guessed that in this whole series. Especially like I said with like Capricorns, it's very not very difficult. It takes like 2 seconds of focus to figure out what their lunar sign is because they're sort of like on the cusp um, as the sign is changing because it changes in February. Okay, so in Mr. LeBron James' first house, so this is the Capricorn rising Gemini video. So Gemini is like pretty much known for being athletes. Like if I see Gemini in somebody's chart or Sagittarius, I'm like, oh, this represents physical fitness, athleticism. You're connecting to your family. I mean, a family could be your mother and your father, but it could also be a basketball team. So LeBron James seems to be like a very tall and very big person. This is the first person whose height and weight are mentioned in their little bio thing. Which I've been able to see people's like height, like are they tall, are they short, are they like 5'5", by certain degrees in their chart. And I have two charts for him. So we have what is it called? Astro charts, and we also have Astro theme. And Astro theme says that he's a wood rat, so that like gives me confirmation on that, which is great. Um, but yeah. So he's like a big guy. Geminis aren't norm like to me in my astrological stereotypes and interpretations. I don't necessarily see Geminis as being big people, and neither do I Sagittarius. So maybe I need to like hem something up because he's huge. But Geminis usually think of being like small and like elf-like. But not to say that an elf can't be 6'8", and like elves like basketball too, I guess, right? Um, so his appearance, he's a cute guy. Like he's handsome, you know what I mean? So if someone were to tell me they have a rising Gemini, I'd be like, oh, as you get older, you'll be like more attractive, especially as a man. He has. I was trying to double check this while I was talking, but yeah, he has Chiron and Gemini as well. So he's an athlete. Like he might, he focuses on his weight. Like he might be the weight that he is on purpose, and he might have a hard time maintaining that. Like, and the Gemini doesn't even really represent like physical weight so much. That would actually be like more of a trait of Libra, but this is like what I'm picking up on. And so like he might be able to help other people with their diet and their exercise plans in ways that he still struggles. So Chiron in the first house, so he might like struggle with his appearance and his self-esteem. So he might be really good at like rallying other people, like you're so handsome, you're so beautiful, and make other people feel attractive, but it might be hard for him to feel attractive on the inside. Because I feel like even if you are 6'8" and 240 pounds or 250 pounds, sorry, as a Gemini, you sort of want to be like 5'7" and like 170 pounds, like a light little wispy guy. So that might be something that he struggles with. But it's also like, you know, I think I made this analogy about like 101 Dalmatians. It's like everybody, you know, the guy who's 5'7", he wants to be 6'8". The guy who's 6'8", he wants to be 5'7". The guy that's drinking the, you know, uh, peach flavored water wants to be drinking the raspberry flavored water. It's just like whatever ever anyone else has, other people want type of thing. Especially with Chiron there. And then the Rising Gemini to me is a story about a life. I don't know, I've never watched a documentary about him, and I don't really know how his career has been, but the Rising Gemini is about a life that goes from the light that descends into the darkness. So, I mean, he might, get older and start doing like gangster movies, or as he gets older, he might become like some sort of a gangster. You never know. Um, But so it is. So his the first four houses of his chart talk very heavily about family, like friends and family and teammates. His the second house in Cancer. So his biggest priority should be his mother, like taking care of his mother, uh, because maybe she did a really good job of taking care of him. I mean, he's a big old athlete. Um, but then also being loving and nurturing. So it's like if LeBron James is sitting in energy wondering like how can I get more money or like where can I get more money from? It would come from being like loving and nurturing others, like a daddy daycare type of energy because he's a man. It's an Eddie Murphy movie if you're not familiar. Daddy daycare, like him and Kevin James like start a daycare and their fathers. And then so his third house is in Leo. So the third house in Leo talks about being in like a very like famous environment. He's from Akron, Ohio. I've heard of it before. I've never been there. Don't really know too much about it, but I've heard of it. I haven't really heard of any other cities in Ohio. Might be the capital. Probably isn't. Um, and it also says that a lot of the people in his family, like his cousins and aunts and uncles, are very popular as well. So popularity wasn't really a big thing for him, and like not a big thing for him, but like not very difficult for him. He comes from like a popular place. He plays for the Miami Heat, super popular city, always in popular environments. Third house in Leo, he might have like a very deep, booming voice, like a lion's roar, very commanding. And yeah, and then his fourth house, which also talks about like his environment, his home where he grew up. He has Virgo, so very neat, very clean, rural, suburban um, areas. His connection to his mother, he probably like, I think the thing is with astrology, it's like, oh, who doesn't feel this way? It's just the intensity. You know what I mean? So he's like, oh, my mother was a saint. Whereas, other people are like, oh, I hate my mom. She did this to me, she did that to me. And it's like his mom could have like literally scolded him with boiling water. And he's like, I love my mother. My mother's a saint. So it's like almost mostly for the protection of his own reputation, which he is a Capricorn, and their whole life is about reputation, trying to discredit other people, trying to try to aggrandize themselves, and then yeah, so that's him. And then also like fourth house Virgo. It's not Virginia, but I would say like what is that, the Ohio Valley or something, whatever. It's still sort of like breadbasket America, like Pennsylvania, Virginia, New York, Ohio, Illinois, whatever. Very, like I said, like suburban, agricultural, whatever. Um, Fourth house in Virgo. Um, Maybe his mother is from. See, that's the thing about like Virgos. Everyone's like, oh, it's Virginia, like the United States, it's Virginia. But there's other places that have and carry Virgo energy. So she's from some place like that. Colonial, like, colonial, nice and neat. especially when you're American. That's what I think of. Um, and then he has a fifth house in Libra. So I always say that the fifth house is the house of like sexy distractions. It's sort of like your obstacles in life, which would be like relationships and marriage. And as a very successful, powerful, influential basketball player, I could see how finding a relationship would be very difficult. Because, like, for me, I'd be like, if I was him, I'd date Shaquille O'Neal. Like, I'm like, who else is going to be on the same level as me and not try to ruin my reputation or defile me or defile my legacy? Um, and, not to be sexist or anything, but like, who are like are professional cheerleaders well? You know what I mean? Like, are they doing well? Like, they go out there and dance at halftime. Like, is anybody paying them? And be like, I mean, I don't know if that, like, in the Justin Timberlake video and Jim Carrey video, I was like, oh, they don't like dating other famous people or other actresses because they feel challenged by them. So I don't see. I see that he doesn't like. I don't really get the feeling that he has like a rule about this. He's just like, I don't even know where to begin. And climb too high on the mountain, and now nobody looks like a friend. And I believe he also has Pluto. Oh no, Pluto and Scorpio. Okay, all right. Okay, so what is this? Fifth house in Libra. Um, so finding relationships, getting married, believing the law of attraction. Also, like the law and legal issues in the government are all obstacles for him. And the way that he is to supersede or surpass or get over that obstacle is through his sixth house, which is the Virgo house. It's the house of service and health and healing and helping, um, which he has the sign of Scorpio and also the planet of Pluto, and Saturn. So, so all of this stuff is like very difficult for him. I mean, Saturn is his ruling planet. So maybe it's not that huge of a limitation, but it's like, I guess he couldn't really like quit his job and go work at Trader Joe's, which is like a limitation for him, and that's how he's supposed to heal. So it's like, he wants to date somebody, he wants to get married, he wants to date someone quote unquote normal, but it's like he really can't like just quit his day job or change what he does so quickly. And so is a huge healing and overcoming obstacles is a huge obstacle for him. Also, with Pluto and Scorpio in the sixth house, it just seems to me like he doesn't deal with grief and death and dying very well. So it's like, every time he's about to like, get over some major depression, somebody close to him might pass. And the thing about men, too, is that somebody close to them pass. I mean, this could be true about women as well, but I've noticed it more in men. Somebody close to them passing, it's not normally like an uncle or a best friend. It's like Akira Toriyama or Stan Lee, and it's like, oh, this guy from my childhood that I never met, and he's gone. And I'm like, okay, like, all right. And I get it too. Like, I'm not like completely heartless. Like, I get it. Like, I was like, all these people crying over celebrities, I never even knew them. Like, grow up. And then I think like Chi Chi DeVane passed away, and I was like, oh, not Chi Chi. Oh God, take anybody else, just not her. Take everybody else but her. Exactly how I felt. Um, but so that's sort of his energy. And it could be other athletes and stuff, like people that he's respected, politicians. But it's a limitation for him, like sadness, depression, desperation. But how does he get over this fear of finding someone to date and marry? I guess is like maybe a little bit of suicidal ideation. Is like, okay, well, I'm terrified about dating this dancer or actress or stripper or rapper or, you know, freaking sales rep from Colgate. And, well, I don't want to be alone. So, like, Geronimo, Geronimo meaning to, like, jump without looking, to, like, dive off of a cliff. But to dive off of a cliff in the sense of getting into the relationship, not actually just like plummeting off of a cliff. And then the seventh house is Sagittarius. So, I mean, so a good way, so other than suicidal ideation, another good way for him to overcome his fear or limitation or obstacle of finding a relationship or trusting someone to marry or date with Squirtle. Oh my God, Squirtle. My favorite mispronunciation of a zodiac sign, or it was actually like a typo, is that someone said Virgie, and I was like, I do think I like Virgie more than Virgo, but I forgot what I just said, but like Squirtle or Scorpio. It's not always death, I guess. It's also occultism and magic. So, he could get a natal chart reading. He could look at their astrology. He could look at their sun sign astrology and be like, oh, you have a sun in Sagittarius. I have a rising Gemini. We'd be a good match. I feel like I can trust you. With Saturn and Scorpio, the limitation there is that he might not be a very strong believer in astrology or occultism or magic or whatever it is. But Scorpio, for whatever reason, even though like Leo and Taurus probably tend to be more of what other people think of like Christians and Catholics, I see Scorpios like being very Catholicism, where it's like the robes and the incense and the bleeding guy. So, maybe um, finding someone who's the same faith of him, who's also an athlete, maybe like an Olympian or something, would be a good match. Seventh house in Sagittarius, like I just said. So, seventh house in Sagittarius with a Mercury in Sagittarius and Uranus in Sagittarius says to me that he's very competitive. And this is actually a trait in human beings that I hate the most, where um, they're competitive about conversation. So it's like, if you say three sentences to me, I'm going to try to say five to prove that I speak better than you and that I can speak longer than you. And they just have this like, I'm beating you, I'm beating you. And it's just like, this isn't a competition. This isn't the Olympics. I'm not trying to out-talk you. I'm just trying to relay information. And I've noticed it in a lot of people, and it's very prevalent, I feel like, in him and his chart. But also, even for myself, it was like a long, long journey for me to even just listen to people. Like I'm just sitting there like, okay, shut up, shut up, shut up. I have stuff to say. Shut up, shut up. You know, so that's kind of maybe like an obstacle for him as well. And maybe, I mean, it's in his astrological charts, it's Mercury, but perhaps he is insecure about his education and therefore feels like he needs to like overperform when it comes to speaking in language. Um, Uranus in Sagittarius, though, says to me like he's like boundlessly competitive. So it's like he's competitive in conversation, he's competitive over relationships. He kind of seems like a little bit of a nightmare, and like I'm so excited. Now I'm not. Um, uh, you know, um, Competitive with his friends, competitive with his family, and probably like very competitive with his partner as well, which could also be a hurdle and obstacle. Where he's like, like, oh, how can I trust you? You like, whatever job, because like, what is really comparable? Oh, you're a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. How could I ever trust you? Or you're a cheerleader for the other team, or I imagine he's heterosexual. Let's say sports seem really gay to me. It's like a gay thing to do, but it's a real gay career to have. And then also, yeah, no, let's talk about that though, real quick, because like I don't really watch sports too much, but I have been recently, and I was watching a basketball game, and it's like there's literally like a bunch of white dudes in suits lined up like after each play or quarter or whatever it's called, and just like lined up to smack the players' butts. And I'm like, how much do they have to pay to smack their butts? And it's like, you know, like Michael Darby gets like burned at the stake for slapping people's butts, which he's probably a horn dog, and it's not like he used a finger or anything. So, or maybe he did, I don't know. But it's like, okay, so he's wrong and he's the devil and he's bad. But like literally little kids and their dads are just sitting there watching a like spanking mill. It's just everything about the NBA rubs me the wrong way and seems like just like some weird type of like racial circus slavery bullshit. So, you know, I don't know. Like, I think people need to think about that more. And then it's like, it's homoerotic, you know what I mean? And then like, I guess it's more of a culture of baseball, supposedly, but baseball, football, all seem like it's about butts to me. And maybe I'm focusing too much on butts. Capricorn is ruled by the butt as well, like the thighs and the buttocks. They are the booty sign. So there's like a lot of weird things there with that, and that he might be aware of and taking part in. Um, so I just want to talk about that for a second. And then his eighth house, he has Capricorn. So he really should be like some like deep woods witch somewhere, like or like so I guess it's like he's like, oh, I can't date a cheerleader, I can't date the girl at Crumble Cookies. Should I be dating? And it's like you should be dating some type of like old witch woman, like the lady from Eve's Bayou with a white painted face. That's who you should be dating. The eighth house in Capricorn, also Jupiter in Capricorn, Jupiter in Capricorn, Sun in Capricorn, Neptune in Capricorn as well, which seems very auspicious. Positionings, Neptune. So Uranus is the sign of I say is like the sign of like boundlessness, the wide open ocean, or the beauty of the clear blue sky. Saturn is limitation. Saturn is like being stuck in somebody's basement in a furnace. And it's like, oh, I have Saturn and Scorpio. How do I learn about astrology when I'm stuck in someone's basement, like next to a furnace? And then Neptune, it's so funny. So, like, Uranus, ruling planet of Aquarius, an air sign, the most misleading air sign because the first four letters of it says aqua. But I see Aquarius or Uranus and Aquarius, I guess, more as like a boat out on the ocean. And it's like endless, there's no boundaries, there's like the endless deep ocean and the clear blue sky, like I said. And I see Neptune being more of like a fog or air, like mist and illusions, even though it's the ruling planet of Pisces, which is a water sign. Don't you think that there's this one woman I used to work with, and she's an Aquarius, and so of course she was like super rude and condescending, knows nothing about astrology, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm an Aquarius, I'm a water sign." And I was like, "Oh my God!" Like I'm an Aquarius. I'm rude and I'm condescending. And I was like, "Oh God!" Like no, you're not. Like you're an air sign. Like what book are you reading? Like who published that? But there are like these other interpretations of astrology where like people think that Scorpio is a fire sign and that Aquarius is a water sign, and it would make sense for Aquarius to be a water sign, but it ain't. So, boo to you. I hope you step in dog shit. And so that's that anger. I have rising Scorpio, so I have a hard time letting things go. And but anyway, so Mr. LeBron. Oh, so we're actually talking about not Scorpio, but the eighth house. So maybe he has a hard time letting things go. But anyways, like I said, Neptune, I think of it as like a fog or like you know what actually I think of when I think of Neptune? I think of like the blue light that comes off of a television. I never really think of water. I never really think of like the ocean. I think of like the blue light that comes off of a television. I think about like, you know, a fog machine when you're like out on a dance floor, or I guess like, when they introduce, they're introducing the players onto the field, like the smoke and the mist and the lights that are going on, the rave lights that kind of look like the center of a natal chart. But anyway, at his core, he's a very deep and spiritual person. Spirituality brings him a lot of luck and fortune, but there's a lot of illusions and mystery around his um, his connection to God and spirituality. There's a lot of illusions around who he is as a person and how much luck and fortune and fame that he's actually accumulating. So like for me, I think there's like some commercial like LeBron James. Like I was so excited. I was like, oh, LeBron James, like famous, he's famous. But maybe he's not as famous anymore, uh, or he's like a lot more famous than people even think about, or like a lot more prolific or like iconic. Maybe he's going to do more iconic things as his life progresses. The eighth house. So, God, spirituality, occultism, astrology, life, death, and taxes, sex. Uh, Very lucky in all these things. So, he's probably really good with like filing his taxes. Neptune. Neptune, I always see is, like I said, the TV antenna. So, how does he get on television is from probably the help of another Capricorn person. Which Capricorn and Sagittarius do give Philomedes, like the little goat guy. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. The little goat guy from Hercules that like trained Hercules in the Disney cartoon. So some coach that he had pushed him in high school, I'm sure, in college or whatever, and now he is an NBA player on in the boob tube, and and in commercials and on Saturday Night Live. Space Jam movie. He's also in a Space Jam movie, I want to say. Um, so hooray for him. And then it's also like he has a really good reputation. He works on his reputation a lot. It means a lot to him. And so there was like this thing because this is like post P Diddy era with the little maid outfit thing, and it's like I think that his reputation is so towering that like literally could be a contestant on RuPaul's Drag Race, and I don't think he would lose a fan. Um, so that is his eighth house, and then his ninth house he has Aquarius. So I do feel like he is like intellectual. He might be like brilliant and like very smart, but I don't think he like thinks of himself as a smart person. He has Venus in Aquarius as well. So Venus in Aquarius is what I'm talking about. Gay, like it's like you're in love with your friends and your teammates, and there's actually so many. So like the most common positionings I've been seeing amongst these 144 charts that I'm attempting to read is that like they all have rising. Like a lot of people have rising Sagittarius. You probably won't hear about all the people that have rising Sagittarius because it's literally like I'm trying to find. Is Eartha Kitt a Capricorn? I forget. Like when I'm trying to find a famous Capricorn, and it's like, oh, rising. Like, oh, I'll do Elvis. I'll do this. I'll do Eartha Kitt. I'll do Edgar Allan Poe or whoever, and it's like rising Sagittarius, rising Sagittarius. Um, I hope those are accurate. And then another positioning that I've been seeing that's very common amongst celebrities is the Venus in Aquarius, which says like he has Venus in Aquarius, also like I said, like the fifth house in Libra. It's like, hey, I can't. We just met on Zeus or OK Cupid. I hate you, And then it's like, oh, but this my friend from fifth grade who I haven't seen in 30 years, haven't seen him, haven't spoken to him in 30 years. Don't know what they look like anymore, haven't been in contact. I'm in love with them. They're more likely to be in love with their best friend. They prefer to have like this long-standing tension of sexual attraction over a long period of time rather than just like trusting their intuition, trusting a natal chart reading, trusting a psychic reading, being like, okay, you and Belinda, you're a good match. Go get married. Like he couldn't. I like. What do you call it? Venus Aquarius people. I don't feel like could ever really in their heart be a part of like an arranged marriage because they're like, I just met you. Like you're an enemy. Unless it was like one of their best friends or something that they've known and maybe like known for like 25 years. Um, but that's the Venus in Aquarius. I'm like, gay. Love's gay. And there's also people that are so ignorant to think that love and romance is gay. Like, even if it's like, oh, I'm not going to tell her I love her and buy her chocolates and flowers and stuff. Like, what am I? Like, soft, you know? Um, but maybe that's something he has to learn about because it's in his because it is in his ninth house. Um, so I don't know. I think it says like the Cavaliers, which I don't know what team that is, but um, foreign travel and higher education is very awkward for him, or was very awkward or uncomfortable. It caused him a lot of stress and anxiety. Which I believe he was like balding for a while, then started to grow his hair back. I'm not a doctor. I don't know if that was from stress or not. Um, but that the ninth house in Aquarius sort of talks about that a little bit, where it's like, maybe he didn't really do well in school, and he doesn't want little kids to find out that he used to fail or skip his classes, because he knows how influential he is. And he also has his midheaven in it's in Pisces, but looking at his chart, it's like right on the cusp of his which that is the midheaven, like right on the cusp of the 10th and the ninth house. So it's like he really cares about his reputation to like little, like not like in a creepy way, but like he cares about his reputation to little kids because he's an athlete and they look up to him. Like he's 6'8". People look up to him whether if they want to or not. They might despise him. They still got to look up to him and admire him because he's so tall and so iconic. Okay. So the midheaven actually being in Pisces and not Aquarius, with also a Mars in Pisces, says that he acts like a Pisces, gay, and maybe this is just wishful thinking on my part. I don't know. Like let's manifest him being gay for me, and so his midheaven is in Pisces, so it is his like life purpose and destiny, to be spiritual. So as he gets, 85 LeBron James might seem a lot more like Tammy Faye Baker or Joel Osteen or other TV evangelists. Like, he might turn to Christ later in his life, as people do. And he acts like a Pisces, so he might cry a lot. He might cry a lot, might be very sensitive. Like I said, like he has a hard time getting over grief and death. So it's like, he's playing The Sims and one of his favorite Sims die and messes him up all week. They kick Grover off of Sesame Street, and he's like, "Oh, not Grover! I loved him. He was my favorite monster." Or what do you call them? Muppet monster. They don't play the monsters anymore. The executive co-writer of Facts of Life passed away. Like just random people in Hollywood that he might know, or just you meet a lot of people. Rupert Murdoch's second wife's child passed, and I'm really sad about it. Boo hoo. But it's his destiny too. His destiny. He's a crybaby. It's his destiny to be a crybaby. He probably looks really good crying, as Pisces do. I don't love the Mars and Pisces positioning, especially with like the Venus in Aquarius, because it does seem like very performative. Like, I don't really like you or care about you, but I know that I'm supposed to cry and act sad in this situation, so I'm going to perform sadness for you. Which is like kind, not kind. It'd be a little bit. I feel like it'd be a little bit more mean if you're at a funeral and he's just like giggling and laughing. So there's that energy. But the 10th house in Pisces, like I said, like it's like his if not in the church, specifically like Christianity or Catholicism. Um, well, what is it? Like that. God, what's it called? It's like it's like this like church thing that you can sign up for online, and it makes you like a reverend, and you can perform like weddings and funerals and religious ceremonies and things like that. which might be something that he gets into. He might already be doing. The 10th house is also like the Capricorn house of like his um, reputation and destiny and things like that as well. So he might have a reputation like amongst his friends or amongst other Capricorns or amongst other basketball players as being somewhat of a crybaby. And his 11th house, which actually is the house of friendship, he has his moon in Aries. Oh no! Just kidding. Don't be gay. Like, go date somebody else. I don't want you anymore. Oh no, LeBron James, not the Capricorn sun and the moon in Aries. Shit. So he's like an asshole. He like curses people out. He's like very like verbally. Oh my god! And 16 degrees of Aries too. So that's the tower. He towers over people. He has a booming voice, and I think he's like mean. Like, don't go to Wendy's with him. He's probably like very like job shamey. I can't date you. You work at Crumble Cookies. I can't date you. You play for this team, and that team sucks. Like, yeah, like he's probably a monster on the court. Like, he probably fouls people with his mouth more, fouls and defiles people with his mouth more than his physical hand. Like you would probably rather, especially, oh my god, especially with the rising Gemini, he's very smart but does not think that he's smart. So he's just like casual and callous and crass about it. I don't want to manifest any physical harm upon myself, but I feel like it would probably be better to get backhanded by LeBron James than to have him say some mean shit to you, because whatever he says to you will rip your soul out. Like, I was like, not 16 degrees. So 16 degrees is oh my god, his Mars and oh no, it's 4 degrees. Okay. 16 degrees is very powerful for this positioning because 16 in the tarot is the number of the tower, which is like destruction and upheaval. The tower tarot card is also represented by the like I think it's more like Saturn and Mars, more so than Aries and Capricorn, but that's Aries and Capricorn ruling planet. So it's like he just has like this like power to emotionally destroy people, which maybe, it's in his natal chart, his supposed natal chart, but it also comes along with his career and his reputation. So, if some 6-year-old kid meets LeBron James, the co-star of a Bugs Bunny movie, the best cartoon character that's ever been created, one of the best basketball players to ever play the game, and he's like, "You suck," like you suck, little kid. You're never gonna be in the NBA. Just give up. It would crush the little person's soul, soul crushing, and he may not even do it on purpose. A really big fan of his who saw that like little maid outfit thing, which I thought was super cute. Um, that might have crushed their like and the LeBron James kid. Like like there's so many people, so many kids, so many adults that look up to him that it's like he probably feels like he has to walk on eggshells and not talk to people because everything he says is taken as shade or oh good job little guy. Okay, this like 6'8" guy's calling me a little guy. I'm 6 foot and he's like towering over me, soul crushed. Oh no, keep him away. I'm like, oh no, keep him away from me. He might backhand people too. With Scorpio, Pluto and Scorpio, he might be going around like, like it was an open hand. It was an open hand. Like it doesn't matter. It's still assault. Um, and so I think like he has a very like harsh emotional pull on his friends. Um, because they may not be as physically powerful, may not be as spiritually powerful, and may not be as what a credibility powerful, like reputation power. And there's this thing too, not to be. I don't support nobody, so I'm definitely not a Trump supporter. But I guess in this Capricorn Rising Gemini video, in my attempt to be the Speaker of the House, as the country is taken over by Nazis, um, so when Trump was talking about grabbing women by the El Pussycat, um, I think what he was talking about was like the power of fame. He's like people become so numb and like starstruck by him. He's like, you can do whatever you want to him. You can kiss him, like grab him by the pussy, like slap him in the face. They're like, oh my god, it's Donald Trump, or oh my god, it's LeBron James. Like like if LeBron James rolled up on you and back, and smacked you across the face, right? You know, and you call the police and you're like, oh my god, I was just assaulted. I got smacked across the face. It was LeBron James. It's sort of like, I don't know if he actually does this, but Bill Murray is said to like go to restaurants and steal people's French fries and do weird things because it's like he's making a cameo in their life. Like, oh, I was at this restaurant and Bill Murray like stole a fistful of my French fries. And it's like you tell the waiter, you tell your friends when you get home. They're like, yeah, right, dude, Bill Murray. Like next you're gonna tell me like, LeBron James backhanded you, or it was an open palm. So he might be doing stuff like that. He might be like abusive of his power. I'm always like Capricorn is the sign of the booty and the sign of reputation, but it is also the sign of abuse as well, especially with that Aries moon. So Aries moon, it's like emotionally abusive, aggressive, and as temporal as the phases of the moon. So like if there's a full moon out, like just leave him alone. And I don't know, maybe you guys can identify with this, but like are Tauruses not werewolves? Aries just seem like little angry, like I always think of like Gimli from Lord of the Rings when I think of Aries, but also Sagittarius as well, like dwarfs. Um and then Gemini, like I said, I think of like elves, but are Tauruses not werewolves? And then there's like, because the Taylor Lautner from, I want to say Twilight, I think he is an Aquarius or a Capricorn, but he has a rising Taurus, and I think he also plays a werewolf. And then all of the Tauruses I know are like horrified of the full moon. So I don't know, they're like were cows, are werewolves part cow? I don't know. And that is only relevant because we are now finally going to move after having such an emotional reaction to his 11th house in the moon in Aries. Um, we are going to quiet down and finish this out with analyzing his 12th house in Taurus, which the 12th house is ruled or rules Pisces energy. So like if he was in a cult, so maybe like maybe this is just like his favorite cryptid or occult being is werewolf. Like so if he's playing Sims or in a movie and they're like, okay, you can be a vampire, an elf, a dwarf, uh, a werewolf, or a Wendigo. He would probably choose werewolf. Um, or like swamp creature or like what I mean, like swamp thing, swamp thing, because then the werewolf I think is actually one of the best um occult supernatural beings to be because you can still get to be a sexy human, whereas like swamp thing or invisible man, like nobody's going to really want to date the invisible guy, can't look at you. um Swamp Thing, water and slime and seaweed. Uh, so there's something going on with that. And then he also has his North Node in Taurus in the 12th house as well, which talks about like this all of it, everything in his chart. I need to like look up something, like ask him, like, are you Catholic? All this stuff talks about Catholicism. Where's his Leo in his third house? So talks about like Catholicism, talks about being a preacher, talks about turning over to Christ. Um, Talks about werewolves. But then also the 12th house, I feel like it's these people like with the sun sign that match our 12th house like make you miserable. And it's not like Tauruses are just going around like jabbing him in the butt. Maybe they, like Taurus businessmen, people from Wall Street, slapping him on the butt, making him feel like a little girl and miserable. You got some like 5'7" vampire looking dude just being like, oh, good, way to go, LeBron. Booty sign, making him feel miserable. Maybe the butt slaps make him feel miserable. Maybe he'll say something about it one day. But Tauruses are also people like Taurus, Virgo, especially Taurus, like Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. These are people who typically work like what some people might say like lower end jobs. I keep talking about crumble cookies or um, being like a clerk. Virgo I would see as like a clerk, working at a shop and enjoying it. Taurus I would see like same kind of deal, but maybe like wanting to invest in the so it's like if this were Quick Stop from the movie Clerks, in New Jersey somewhere, uh, I would say that Virgo is like Randall, where it's like he just works there day to day, sort of a dead end job, enjoys it, gets to pay for his vices and watch movies and rewind them. Because he ran the like video store part of the Quick Stop in that movie, and then Taurus is more like Dante, where he owns the store because Taurus is like to own, but also works there right next to Randall, so isn't that much better than him. Capricorn, I don't have a character. Capricorn, I guess, would be God. What is her name? The sexy girl from Clerks 3, the manager of the movies. I know movies, Quick Stop. They live in they're predominantly in Leonardo, New Jersey. But this woman, this great woman who was in Rent and a bunch in Pluto Nash and all these other great movies. Rosario Dawson. God, never put me on Jeopardy. Like, never put me on Jeopardy, please, God. So Capricorn would be more like the Rosario Dawson character, who is the manager and who manages things. So, one day he might own a basketball team, he might become a manager, and he'd be like, hey, don't slap my players on the butt. I don't care. But also, he's made miserable by these people. So just as I was saying, like in his Libra house, he's like, oh, I can't date you. You're a cheerleader. I can't date you. You're a maid. I can't date you. You're a clerk. You work at Crumble Cookies. Um, those people make him miserable because I think he wants to work at Crumble Cookies. I think he wants to be a maid. I think he wants to not have so much stress and pressure on his shoulders and a bunch of little kids looking at him like he's Santa Claus. Like, because, okay, so backdoor brag, this isn't about LeBron James, but this is 12th house, so this is about me. And I believe also Shaquille O'Neal is a Pisces, so it's about him as well. So once upon a time, not long ago, there was a movie called Shazam with Shaquille O'Neal. And there is this whole, what do you call it? Like conspiracy or Mandela effect of there being a Sinbad movie called Kazam that has either been wiped from the record, or people are saying it's like a mismemory that Sinbad was hosting a History Channel something marathon about the pirate Sinbad and he was dressed like a genie and that a bunch of little kids got it confused. But this might be my misremembering, but what I remember is like literally as I am recording this video, I am sitting in the exact same room near where the television was when I watched Kazam on television. I want to say that I saw Shazam at the Potomac Yards movie theater in Arlington. Like I was literally watching, I was like, okay, let's watch this like crappy made for TV version. And then my mom took me out and we went to go watch like the Hollywood version of the exact same movie. And maybe it was just too similar, one for one. Maybe it was the exact same script. I don't remember. I don't remember what happened in Kazam. I do remember Shazam and them eating like a lamb's eyeball. And one of the first tricks or magical spells that Shaq did was make it rain candy, right? And another cut forward to another time. I don't. Well, I used to go to the movies all the time. Pisces, Neptune, TV antenna. Um, I was at the Lowe's in Georgetown before it was remodeled, so it was even crappier than it is now when it was like a single floor movie theater. So you wouldn't have like the huge like stadium bleachers. It's just kind of like a small little room playing movies. And I want to say I don't remember what movie I saw, but I was with my god brother Sean and maybe Andre or DeAndre, my brother and my mom. And we saw the starting lineup for the Lakers at whatever time. So sometime in between like 1996 and like early 2000s. I don't remember clearly. But we were in Georgetown, Washington, D.C., and we chased Shaquille O'Neal down. There's like a bunch of people chasing them. But, we were like, a pack of African American 8-year-olds, so we could outrun the like chubby Georgetown tourists and actually catch up with these star athletes who were running away from them. It was very like, very 90s, like Backstreet Boys, like, oh my God, it's the Lakers. I don't even know if he was playing for the Lakers at that time, but it was just whoever these, because we didn't even know who they were. We were like, oh my God, that's Shazam. He has candy. Get him, So we catch up with Shaquille O'Neal, and he's like, we're like, do you have candy? Like, do you have candy? Like, make it rain candy, like you did in the movie. And he was like, oh, like, you know me from my movie? He was like, you don't know who the rest of these guys are? We're like, do they have candy? If they have candy, we'll know who they are. But we don't know who they are. And it was, I guess, I want to say it was the other Lakers or other basketball players, and they felt really slighted and attacked because we only cared about Shaq and because he was in a movie where he was like making it rain candy. Which you're a little kid, you're like, oh, this is like, it's like Jesus Christ, Shaquille O'Neal, and Shazam. Like, bread and loaves, making it rain Milky Way bars. So this is all not just a backdoor brag and me trying to record this story or be conspiracy bay, because perhaps LeBron James wants to run away and go work at a mall because he's tired of little kids thinking that he's Santa Claus or Shazam and can just like make it rain money and candy and prosperity and things for other people within ways that he might struggle with himself. But back to my story. So then he didn't have any candy, but he gave us each. That's why I have a hard time remember like how many kids, like how many were with us. He gave us each like $20. So he gave like me, my brother, and my god brother, and I think my other god brother like $20, which it's like 1996 money, so that's like $100 bill. We might have given it to my mom, and I think she was like, "Hey, like you give me $20," and he was like, "No," and I think I most likely gave that money to her or whatever because he just took us out to the movies, which was like pretty amazing, So it was like I have this huge, huge memory attached to Kazam and Shazam because I also auspiciously met Shaquille O'Neal as well. An attachment to my memories of this movie. So I feel like Kazam was a movie because I got $20 from Shaq at one point. So anyway, thank you, beautiful souls, for listening to me for almost over an hour. Backdoor bragging about like the whole plot and scheme about this natal chart was to tell everybody that I met Shaquille O'Neal and that I'm better than you. Goodbye. Just kidding. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. This has actually been a very fun and interesting natal chart that I was very excited to do. And I'm actually really excited to listen to it back. So I can't wait for this to end. Thank you. I will see you in my next video. Bye.